I've always been a big admirer of Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist monk. And I have several of his books, but lately I've been going back into some of the books that, they're like these little books. I'll show you what I'm referring to. This one is How to Relax. He did a whole series of these little teachings about how to, kind of different how-tos in life. And I read his book, Pieces Every Step, years and years ago, and I loved that book. And I've had these for years, and sometimes I'll read a little bit of them, set them aside. I'm like that all the time. I get distracted, and I move on to something else. But since I said I was trying to really focus on doing the work, essentially, with this time away from work, on my mental health, I'm trying to make it a habit to every day really read through these books that I have, these, kind of self-help books on depression, anxiety, and stuff, and really take the time to go through them, as opposed to just partially reading them and putting them down. So I was reading this, a little bit from this book today, and I wanted to read you something, and this has been very true of me. He says, it's a little passage about desire and happiness. He says, the Buddha often said that many people confuse desire with happiness. Before he became a monk, the Buddha had grown up as a prince and had tasted a life of trying to satisfy desires. So his words came from experience. He said that true happiness is a life with few desires, few possessions, and the time to enjoy the many wonders in us and around us. Desire means to be caught in unwholesome longing. When the mind is desiring, we are aware of the presence of that state of mind. This is the mind longing for wealth. This is the mind desiring reputation. When the mind isn't desiring, it's important to observe that the desiring mind is not present. This is the sense of ease that accompanies the absence of mind desiring wealth. This is the sense of ease that accompanies the absence of a mind desiring reputation, etc. We can experience happiness, ease, and peace when we observe these moments of no desire. Desirelessness is the basic condition that makes possible the feelings of joy, peace, and ease that come with living a simple life. Simplicity means to have few desires, to be content with a simple life, and just a few possessions. Desirelessness is the basis of true happiness. Because in true happiness, there must be the elements of peace, joy, and ease. And he also says a couple of pages later that, sorry, one more thing. He says a couple of pages later, our idea of happiness is the main obstacle to happiness. And this just really resonates with me. I have always had this fantasy life in my head, of that day when I'm thin, or that day when, I don't know, I've been doing really good self-care, my skin looks really good, or that day when I'm financially stable, or when I have the house, or when I have, the partner. And I don't think it's wrong to have some desire for things. We all do, right? Like we want to find love, or maybe there's a car you always wanted, or you always kind of had a dream home. But I think I know myself, I wallow in it. And I've spent so much of my life in this state of desire for something else that I don't live presently. I don't live in the moment at all. So I'm completely in the future at all times. I'm completely in this, I'm either in the future worrying about something bad happening, or I'm in the future wishing for something good to happen. And I'm never just here. So it's something I've noticed throughout the years, and I've always kind of thought, oh, this is not a healthy way to think, and then I dismiss it and I move on, I go about my day, But I do it all the time. I'm in la la land all the time about, like, winning the lottery, or, meeting someone and falling in love or whatever. And I'm never present. And I keep saying that I want to get back to doing meditation regularly, and that is, on my list of things that I'm trying to incorporate into my time away from work, because I feel like if I can make it a habit now while I have all this time, it's something I'll carry forward once I get busy again in my life. But even as I was reading this, I made a mental note to not really, really try not to think about my future worries or my future desires, and just focus on the words and really listen to the message. And I found that when I decided, okay, it's time to leave, I gotta get going, I have other things to do, I felt much more at ease, and I felt my shoulders relax. And it's so crazy how and I know these things. These are things that, we talk about for coping skills and deep breathing and all these things. But it's amazing how easily we can get caught up for weeks or months or years in not living in the moment, until we're reminded again, you have to live in the moment. Because that's really all you have. That's all you have, right? That's all that's guaranteed. And I know that, but I love when something reminds me, and this reminded me today, and I'm so happy it did, because at least it gave me a few minutes of being present and a few minutes of feeling peaceful. And in those few minutes, I felt happy. So, just a reminder, in case you're, because if you are depressed, you're, as they say, if you're depressed, you're lost in the past, and if you're anxious, you're stuck in the future. So, can we each try to make a point to, at least for a couple minutes a day, be present? Because we have to start somewhere, right? And I haven't been present in a really long time, so I'm really glad I read this today, and it reminded me of that. And so anyway, these books are really good. He has a whole series of them, these how-to books. So anyway, on my way home, an oil light came on in my car, so that's a mess, and I'm going to deal with that tomorrow. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself mentally on that, and I'm trying to just relax for the evening and take it one moment at a time. And I hope you have a good night.